Hello everyone, I'm Paweł. I'm software engineer at Getting Data and a contributor of Lineage and Marquez. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it to come to the community meeting on Thursday, but I do have some interesting PR to mention and describe, so I've pre-recorded this because I think it may be interesting for you to hear. So let me share my screen for a second. I hope you see it. And I hope you see my browser. And there's been some interesting topic that we have discussed for a long time within the community meetings. It's a static lineage. And so far, Open Lineage was mainly used for so-called operational lineage. And every lineage event we sent was run related. So it's related to a certain run of a certain job that had some input data sets, produced some output data sets, succeeded or failed. And actually, there was a need for something more. So there, for instance, for example, I can easily imagine that there are data sets within an organization that someone would like to feed into Lineage backends, but actually they are not being the output of any job. So there are no runs associated with them. There are data sets that are produced by some processing engines that do not support OpenID. So there is a lot of possible cases where one would just simply like to index a whole database or all tables within it as data sets without creating runs. And that's what this proposal is about. It's proposal 1837 that got merged 3 weeks ago. It's mainly produced, written by Julian. And yeah, the proposal, the main idea here is how to include the new event types into currently supported. So up to this point, OpenLinux supported run event, which contained job information, run information, some input and outputs. Uh, and it required run to be a valid run event, to be a valid Open Lineage event. So yeah, it wasn't valid without a run, and that was the issue mainly. And within the proposed model, we decided to create additional event types to create a dataset event just to describe static datasets and their attributes and facets and job events, which just contain information about job. And the crucial thing was how to make it so that one can easily distinguish one event from another, and how to make it so that we don't break the open lineage schema for existing users that maybe not that much interested in static metadata. So we decided to go with a way that we use schema URL field, and schema URL field may contain a URL to run event definition, but it also may contain a URL to a definition of dataset event and job event, and we do make a distinction based on that field. Uh, because otherwise those JSON have similar fields, and it could have been difficult to distinguish one from another. Now my browser shows the modified open JSON file, so the spec that's definition of the open lineage, and it's the definition from where we generate the Java code and write Python client code. So it's merged today. So today is Wednesday, 7th June. So I've merged it today morning. And as you can see, the ID of the spec is 2.0. And let's see what's got changed here. So first, we've introduced the base event type just to, have all the common elements of those three event types. And the common elements are the event time, the producer, and the schema URL. Then we change the run event so that it extends the base event. So we do extension JSON schema by applying all of. Yeah, so we simply moved some run event fields to base event, but don't worry, it doesn't affect the generated client code. So whatever you work, it will be fine for you. It's just a different schema definition. We've included a dataset event that also extends base event, but additionally, it can contain a dataset which is a static dataset, which is actually for now exactly the same as the dataset. And we've also included the job event that also extends base event, and yeah, it can contain similar data to run event, except for it doesn't require run to be present. Yeah, and overall, this change gets affected here. We allow JSON Open Lineage event to be one of them, one of run event, doesn't event, or job event, any of them. And based on that definition, the Java client code got generated within the PR, and also we've modified a Python client to include all the necessary methods to be able to export static metadata. And actually, based on that, I can show you some quick demo that I've prepared in Jupyter Notebooks. So it's a Jupyter Notebook, and I do have a Marquez instance up and running on somewhere on a Docker. And it's the Marquez instance is running from my branch, and the changes are not merged at the moment, but they will be merged hopefully soon. Um, okay, so first let's look at the existing run event. So within a client, we can create a run event and emit it to an endpoint fire, and let's see the status response codes. It's 201, which says it's created, something has been created. And if we go further, we can ask for those job, the run event job in Marquez, and we get something. Don't want to print the whole JSON, but uh, the operation had effect. We've sent run event, there's something changed in database, and we can request it if we like. And for static metadata, the behavior for the moment is slightly different, because I think it will take much more time to implement storing static metadata within Marquez database. And the reason behind it is that Marquez database schema is kind of run ID centric. And if something doesn't have run ID, it can be a problem everywhere. But what we decided to do so far was the ability to serialize and deserialize it without modifying the database. So in this code, I'm emitting a dataset event that has some dataset information, and I'm emitting this. And instead of 201 created, I get 200 OK status code, and the response body just contains the event that I sent. And it's good to ask a question: what's the reason to prepare such a feature? Because it does not do anything. It just deserializes the event from the JSON and then serializes it back so that we can get it back as a JSON. And actually, we've implemented it for that purpose, because it's the best integration test to verify that the schema changes we've done in OpenLineage JSON schema are okay. They are okay in the sense that there is a backend reference architecture like Marquez that can correctly decode it and encode it again. So it can distinguish from different event types, and it can serialize it back. And this thing is done within standard Jackson library and Jackson capabilities. So we didn't need to do any custom JSON stuff. Yeah, it's available within commonly used libraries. So that's the interesting thing. And the same thing applies for the job event, which we are able to create from a Python client. It's already available in Python client. Then emit the event and see that the 200 response, okay, is something we get back. Uh, so to sum up, static metadata is something that we discussed for a long time. We agreed on the proposal, and the main effort was to make it in a way so we don't break the existing usage scenarios, and we allow new event types. today we've merged the PR that modifies the Open Lineage schema and gives this feature within the clients, the Java client and the Python client. Additionally, we prepared some first step of the changes within Marquez to make sure that standard Jackson libraries are capable of deserializing and serializing our new event types, which means one can distinguish one from another. Thank you guys for coming, and if you have some questions, I hope the other guys will be able to answer them. Thank you. Have a great meeting. Bye.